afternoon, or evening.
Whatever time you may be watching from. So Brittany couldn't be here today. She is down in Florida with her mom. Hi, Brittany. Hi, Mom.
We love you.
We love you.
Miss you.
Yeah.
Come home.
Come back.
Please.
Brittany, come back. I love that everybody gets a glance into our weirdness in this also. Yes, our true personalities shine.
Well, it's taken a while to find them again.
Yes.
So we might as well let them go.
Yeah, it's just Sheena and I today, and we thought last time we recorded a video that a good topic for this time would be life after trauma.
Yeah.
Because it's such a thing that so many people have been through trauma. And I think that we all get the Disney syndrome sometimes, thinking that, you know, we'll have our happy ending and our fairy tale ending and everything will just be perfect after that. That's not really the way life works. You know, you go through things, you go through stuff, you have ups and downs. And so we really just wanted to talk about, you know, a raw, honest look at what life after trauma actually looks like.
And then, you know, there's also that whole portion of sometimes you create your own trauma after a while.
Yes.
And how do you deal with that? Because there's a lot of guilt and there's a lot of shame and regret, and there's a lot of lies from the enemy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things in this world and situations that might make you feel like you'll never be okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I think a good place to start is just, you know, what is trauma? You know, like you said, sometimes we create our own trauma, sometimes other people create our trauma, but I think one of the biggest parts in healing from trauma is recognizing it.
absolutely.
So many times we make excuses for, you know, the people that have abused us. We make excuses for our dysfunctional families. We make excuses for these things and we downplay it. And we say, oh, that wasn't really trauma. Oh, that really wasn't that bad. Oh, it really wasn't that.
Or we just push it to the side and ignore it.
Yes, push it down, never happened, fa la la la, rainbows and sunshine. But you can't heal from something that you refuse to face.
Yes.
You have to be able to turn around, stop, and look it in the face to heal from it and say, this was trauma, and it did hurt, and it did affect me, and it was bad, but I'm ready to face it and heal from it and let it go now.
Yes. If you do not face it, it will rear its ugly head
Yes.
at a time when you're not ready. It will continuously come back
Yeah.
in your mind, in your heart, until you deal with it. One analogy that I remember that is so perfect is it's like, you know, you can pick at a scab and you can just let it fester and get infected and you can do all that stuff, or you can properly take care of it and you can get it cleaned out and you can doctor it up and you can medicate it and you can bandage it and it can heal. It can heal right. You'll have a scar,
Yes.
but it will be healed.
It will be healed, yes. Yeah. And so, you know, one of the most important things you can do if you want to get to a place of life after trauma and you want to heal from it is just stop and look at the things that have happened in your life and say, you know, what are these things that have really affected me? What are these things that have put deep wounds in me? What are these things that have really hurt me along the way? And evaluate them and look at them, and then look at them and say, you know, some people do that and then they go a step in the wrong direction and they make their trauma their identity. They make their trauma their identity, and here I am and I'm a victim and I've been abused and this is who I am. And so when you're looking at your trauma, you need to recognize it, but you also need to not make it your identity. You need to make it a goal to heal from it and to move past it.
If you're not careful with that, sometimes your victim mentality will bleed into everything you do.
Yes.
Everything is always, you're always a victim in every situation. Everything's always against you.
Yes.
You have to, it's a real thing. People.
I remember counseling a lady one time, and she had some real trauma from her mom, from her childhood, and her mom would always lie to her. Her mom would never tell the truth. Her mom would always manipulate her, and all of these things that happened to her through her childhood. You know, it wasn't like physical abuse or anything like that, but it was just lying and manipulation and things. And so I told her, you know, what you have on is your mom glasses. And so you look at somebody and you see them and you look at them clearly, but the minute something happens, you put on those mom glasses and you see them through the lens of what your mom did, and you automatically shut everything down and you say, oh, you're just like my mom, and you close them off, and you make every situation, every relationship, and every scenario to be the same one as your mom because you have not healed from it yet. And so we do that with our trauma. You know, we recognize it and we see it, and then we begin to put on these trauma glasses, and every situation turns into that same thing.
And believe me, you will have trauma responses. Things will trigger you, and it'll trigger your mind to tell your body that this is exactly what has happened before.
Yes.
You know what this feeling is. You have to protect yourself. You have to
Yes.
protect yourself. And whatever your response to that is where you will go. And you have to be able to pull that, recognize it,
Yes.
and find your individual way on how you're going to manage that and pull yourself out of that. And everybody, there's basic things to do, but everybody then has to kind of venture into their own, like,
Right.
you know, and there's a path of healing for everybody. Some people, some trauma things, some responses you can get into and out of with pretty quickly with the healing process, and you can rip your scab up and doctor your wound and do all that
Yes.
quickly. And some take time.
Lots of time.
And you're gonna have moments where you're like, why am I not healed?
Yes.
And am I gonna be healed?
Yes.
And Jesus, please.
Is this ever gonna go away?
Yes. And also a big part of that is the people that you're surrounding yourself with, your friends, your family, your spouse. They have to have a clear idea of where you're coming from. And so you have to have communication in that, because your responses can affect other people, because you're putting, like Audrey said, you're putting those mom glasses on, you're putting that lens on them, and then they have to understand what and why and all those things.
Yeah. And to be able to have a place to call that out in you and say, I am not your mom. I am not your ex. I am not your old friends. I am not whatever it is that's caused this trauma in your life. But to be able to look at you and say, I'm not that person. I am not that situation, and to help you see it in a different light and see it in a different way, you know. And I think one of the things you touched on is really great. Another step in it is finding your response to trauma. You know, if you can recognize your response, because a lot of people are out here and they've had trauma and they're responding to it with a certain tool and they don't even realize they're doing it. You know, some people turtle up. They totally shut down, close down. My goggles went on. I see the situation, turtle up. Nope, not talking, not anything. I'm in my shell, leave me alone. Some people run. Immediately, as soon as they feel it, they run, they shut down, they run out of the relationship, they quit the job, they leave, they don't come back, you know. Some people get angry and they immediately respond with yelling and defensive and things like that. You know, it's important to find your trauma response so that you can start to recognize it when it happens. You know, for me, I'm a turtler and a runner.
I'm a turtler.
One or the other. My first response is to run. If I can't run, I turtle. That's it. That's the end of it, you know. And so I had to recognize that in myself, because in the beginning, I just wanted to run. I wanted to leave. I wanted to quit every job. I wanted to run away from everything. I wanted to delete numbers, delete people from Facebook. That was it. I wanted to just completely run from it all. And then when I couldn't, I would shut down. And so I had to start recognizing those, even in myself. You know, I've been clean and doing this for almost 11 years now. And I still will recognize myself being, you know, beginning to turtle up and shut down. And I have to say, okay, this is my trauma response. What is triggering this right now? How can I heal from this? I need to call my friends who I have a relationship with, who I trust, and say, guys, I'm shutting down right now. I need help. I need help getting out of it.
Freaking out, man.
I'm freaking out. Help me. I'm turtling up. I'm in my shell.
And you know what? When you start to realize it, that doesn't mean it's over.
No,
because
no.
I can tell, I'm a turtler too, and I will turtle up, and inside I am agonizingly screaming. Children, they're babies. I will be inside, literally screaming inside, because I want to say things. I remember what it was like to not do that. So my brain is like, why don't you just talk?
Yes.
Why don't you just say how you feel?
Yes.
Why don't you just do this? And inside I'm internally screaming at myself. And I can tell you what, like, I know what I want to say. I know what I want my reaction to be, but my whole exterior shuts down.
Yes.
And so that was the beginning. Like, I realized my response. I had to dig into it, and then that argument inside starts. And then it took time to get to the point where, you know, and I have, like, my husband is a blessing in that, because he would, when he knew, like, he can tell, like, he'll be like, what are you thinking? And he will dig at me until I can say a word, because he knows if he can start to get a few words out of me, I might start talking. And
just poke your head out of the shell just a little bit.
And it's hard. Like, I want to communicate things so much, but there's something in me that is screaming, it's a difficult thing. It really is. And that is the one thing that has taken a long time. Like, it is what it is. And I trust the Lord to heal all those things. And I know that he could heal me immediately, or he could walk with me as I walk through it myself. Right. And so sometimes you just got to walk through it and take that time. I can't tell you how many times Audrey's called me in the middle.
I need help. I need help. I've shut down and locked myself in my room. I need help. Help me get out.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think, what you're saying is, once you've recognized your trauma, decided to heal from it, found your response pattern, that's when the real work begins. That stuff is all just pre-work. That's when the real work starts, and that's when you have to work to change your responses. You have to work to let people in. You have to work to trust again. You have to work to find people and give them access into your life to call this stuff out. That's when the real work of it begins. And I will tell you, I was clean for years, and I thought I was healthy, and I thought I was good, and I thought I had healed all my spots, and I got married. And that brought up things in me that I didn't even realize I still had. It brought up wounds and hurts in me that I didn't even realize were still there. And so you'll go through this process of trying to heal and of trying to get better and of working through those things. But then there'll be something that will come up in your life. You'll get a new job. You'll be around new people that will trigger things in your life. And you'll realize there's wounds you didn't even know you had. It's like, a lasagna. You have to keep peeling back the layers and peeling back the layers and peeling back the layers, But recognizing all of this, that you're preparing yourself for heaven. Each wound that you heal, you're preparing yourself to go be in glory. You're preparing yourself for freedom, total freedom, and it's worth it. It's worth the work. It's worth being uncomfortable. It's worth, the tears and all of the things. It's worth it in the end.
Yeah. Because, if you look at it, you're wearing an outfit somebody else put on you.
Yes, that's very good.
You're wearing their comments. You're wearing their behaviors towards you. You're wearing this thing that was never your outfit.
Right.
And it is so worth being able to take that outfit off one article of clothing at a time.
Right.
And then being able to stand there bare and naked, completely vulnerable, until you can put on what you were meant to wear to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's a process, and it's beautiful, and it's worth it, because God had a plan for you. And I believe that a lot of the things that I hate that happened, but I would not be able to help people to the extent that I can or will be able to,
right,
if I had not gone through so many of them, A,
right,
and B, if I was not learning how to process them and get through them, and to put on a new article of clothing, because I can help somebody else do the same thing. And they may not I may put my pants on both legs at once. They may put their pants on one leg at a time, but either way, we can walk through it together.
Right.
And it's important. I think that's an important part of the process of healing, because the word says that, we are comforted to comfort others.
Yes.
So we have to use that to help other people. There are people who don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to do it.
Right.
Somebody had to show me how to do it. I'm still learning things about it. And somebody has had to show my husband how to deal with me in the process, and vice versa. Like, that's just, it's the way it is. And it's worth it to heal.
Yes.
All wounds are worth healing. All wounds are worth healing.
Because if you don't heal from it, you're going to never have a relationship. You're going to never have stability in a job. You're never going to have close friendships. You're never going to be able to have these things if you don't heal from this stuff. Because, you know, you're broken, and what your broken pieces are going to end up doing is ripping and tearing up everything in your life.
You will be somebody else's trauma at some point in time.
Yes.
And you do not want to do that. You would rather help others heal, be a safe place, than to allow your trauma to question someone else's reality or thoughts or
and create trauma in them. You know? Yeah. Because that's what hurt people do. They hurt people, you know?
Yeah, that is such a true statement.
Yes.
It is.
And so, you know, healing from it is worth it. But if you don't do it and you don't put in the work, you're never going to have freedom. You're never going to have peace. You're never going to have life. You're never going to have joy. This thing is, you know, it's like the enemy is out to steal, kill, and destroy from you. And he will use your trauma to do that.
Oh, yes.
And then there's the big F word, forgiveness. Yes, you have to forgive. You have to forgive these people that have hurt you in your life. And, you know, one of the quotes that I heard in the beginning that stuck out to me so much was, the hardest thing I've ever had to do is forgive somebody that wasn't sorry.
Yeah.
It's because you wait for them to come and tell you I'm sorry, and you wait for that moment to be vindicated and to be justified and whatever it may be. But most of these people are probably never going to tell you they're sorry.
And what would a sorry really do for you?
Right.
Would you be healed from that?
No, then you would feel righteous and justified. And yes, you did hurt me. And yes, you should be sorry. And
you'd still have the same trauma responses and you'd still be going through the same things.
Yes. You have to forgive. You have to forgive these people that have hurt you in your life. And another thing that I've learned along the way is, I thought in the beginning, if I could just pray the right prayer the right way, if I could just read my Bible enough, if I just surrendered enough, that I would forgive and it would be a one-time thing and then it would be done. That's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is a choice you have to make constantly. If this one person in my life hurt me, I have to constantly choose to forgive them. It's a choice that I have to make over and over and over. Every time that thought pops up in my mind of what they did to me, I have to choose to forgive again. Every time they call me and hurt me again, I have to choose to forgive them again. Every time somebody else does something that reminds me of it, I have to choose to forgive again. Over and over and over, you have to make the choice of forgiveness.
That's what Jesus told us to do. You know, and if you hold on to this, if you continue to hold on to it and you just grasp it like this, you can't accept anything new. You can't accept the love from others. You can't accept any of the blessings that God wants to really give you, because you have to have open hands. You have to put down everything and you have to open your hands. If you don't open your hands and you hold on to whatever it is and whoever hurt you, you're not able to get anything new in it, and you can't give anything either. You have to put it down. What's that story? I've heard it so many times about the snake. Like, if a snake bites you, are you gonna follow it around and make it say sorry?
Yes.
Or are you gonna understand that it's a snake's nature to bite and you picked it up? So two things in that. Sometimes forgiveness means you have to forgive yourself for picking up the snake.
Sometimes forgiving yourself can be harder than forgiving someone else, you know?
It absolutely can.
I heard Beth Moore say it like this. She said, you know, when you don't forgive somebody, it's like you take a strap and you put that person on your back and you strap them to you and you carry them everywhere you go. Every job you go to, every time you're at home, every relationship you're at, everything you go to, you carry that person with you. And it's like, that's a heavy burden. That's a heavy thing to carry around with you, and it drains you and it wears you out and it makes you tired and it gets you frustrated. And it's because you're carrying around this load that you're not meant to carry. Unstrap that person and let them go.
And you know what? It makes you a prisoner, because you're a prisoner to a thought of somebody who may or may not even think about what they've done, or even know that they hurt you or care. And if they're going on and just functioning, but you're holding on to this pain, what good is that? Like, what is that going to do for you? What is that saying? It's like drinking poison every day
and expecting the other person to die. But really, you're just killing yourself.
And believe me, it festers and it grows and it spreads.
Yes. Yeah. And so, life after trauma is beautiful and it's freeing and it's hard and it's work, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Always be thankful that you made it out, because whatever your traumatic situation was, and then whenever you have been traumatized and you don't heal, especially if you go into addiction or anything of the such, you continue to accept those new traumas and you create new traumas.
Yes.
You get into the same old relationships. You find the same old friends. You do the same old behaviors and creating more and more pain and hurt and all the things. And you made it out.
Yes.
And everything. Oh, wait. Oh, living the prayers that I used to pray. You're living in something new and you made it.
Yeah.
So do the work and be so grateful that you made it out. Because some people walked out their traumas and they lived in those traumas and they died in those places.
Yeah.
And they never found the real healing and their future.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there and you've been through something, let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go and do the work.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself.
Uh-huh.
Forgive those around you.
Yeah.
And continue to forgive people.
Yeah.
And just love.
So identify your traumas. Face them. Find your identity. Your identity is not in your trauma. Your identity is not in what you've been through. Work through them. Identify your trauma responses. Identify them and how you react to them. Put in the work to change, to make a new way, to do a new thing, and then use these steps to go help somebody else.
Amen.
That's life after trauma, is working through it and helping other people out of it. And I know, when we're in it, we all want to help other people get out of it. We all want to help other people find their way out. And you can do that. If you're sitting in trauma right now, you can do that.
You absolutely can.
And if you're in a place right now where you feel like I've been stuck in this trauma for so long, I don't know how to get out of it, I can't do it, reach out. Reach out and talk to somebody. Process through it. You can't do it on your own.
No.
You'll never be able to do it on your own. Reach out and talk to somebody and process through it. And, if you have a loved one that's in trauma, be patient with them.
Yes.
Be patient with them. Don't get frustrated with them as they're trying to work through it. Don't get frustrated with them when they run. Be there when they get back. Don't get frustrated with them when they turtle up. Pet their little back and tell them, it's okay, you can come out. Be patient with them as they're working through these things and help them through it, because there is another side.
There is.
Yeah.
And depending on your level of trauma and your need for a safe space, sometimes you need a little more padding in your safe room, so it takes time to build that. So be patient. That's a really good thing. Be patient.
Yes, be patient and kind with people as they're dealing with their trauma, because I bet you have some trauma and you will want people to be patient and kind with you as you're dealing with yours, because we all have it. We live in a fallen world. We live with fallen people. We live with, broken people. We all have some kind of trauma somewhere we're trying to work through. So let's be patient and kind. Be kind. Yes. Look at our shirts today. Yes. So be patient and be kind with people as they're finding their other side.
Yep.
That's what we got.
Yep, that's it. Yep.